The drama surrounding the Raiders' primetime clash with the Chargers in Week 2 was never supposed to unfold like this. For a fleeting moment, it looked like the Raiders had a chance to seize control of the AFC West, to announce to the football world that this was no longer the same old team weighed down by mediocrity and missed opportunities. Instead, Raider Nation got heartbreak. What they witnessed was another chapter in a long history of frustration. A collapse that was as much about self-inflicted wounds as it was about the opponent across the field. The scoreboard told the story in blunt, unforgiving numbers, 20-9 Chargers. But the real story went much deeper. Geno Smith was branded the villain by most who glanced at the stat sheet. 3 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, less than 200 yards passing. On paper, it looked like a quarterback meltdown. But the truth is that Geno was far from the only loser in this debacle. This was a loss born of stubborn coaching, a broken offensive line, questionable personnel decisions, and a team that simply could not get out of its own way. Heading into Monday night, optimism was real. Raiders fans felt something stirring after Week 1, a defense that played with fire, an offense that showed sparks of explosiveness, and a rookie running back in Ashton Jeanty who looked ready to break out on the national stage. Primetime under the lights against a divisional rival was the perfect stage to prove this team was built to win. The defense set the tone early, forcing the Chargers into a field goal. Daniel Carlson answered with one of his signature kicks, and for a moment the script was writing itself in silver and black. But then, the unraveling began. Slowly at first, then all at once. A questionable penalty, a blown assignment, and the energy drained from Allegiant Stadium. By the final whistle, it wasn't simply that the Chargers had beaten them. The Raiders had beaten themselves. The collapse began with coaching. Chip Kelly's game plan was predictable, almost archaic. Everyone knows what to expect from the Chargers. Heavy doses of cover 1 and cover 3, the same defensive philosophy Pete Carroll rode for years in Seattle. And yet Kelly played right into it. Over and over, the Raiders lined up in static 2x2 formations. No motion, no deception. Nothing to stress the defense. 9 times they came out the same way. 9 times it failed. Checkdowns for 2 yards, throwaways, or Geno scrambling with no one open. Predictable football. And worst of all, Kelly didn't adjust until the second half, when the Raiders were already chasing the game. When they finally spread the field differently, overloading one side, suddenly things clicked. The second half opened with an 11-minute march that should have ended in 6, but a phantom holding call on Dylan Parham wiped it away. Instead of a touchdown, they settled for 3. On the next drive, Geno forced a risky ball on 3rd and 3, ignoring the easy field goal that could have made it a one-possession game. The pass was tipped, intercepted, and the chance was gone. That wasn't just on Geno. That was preparation, discipline, coaching. Even worse was how the staff handled injuries. Brock Bowers, one of the brightest young weapons on the roster, was clearly hurt, limping on routes, avoiding planting on his left leg, struggling to cut. And yet he was still the first read on critical downs. 4th and 3, game on the line. The ball was drawn up for him. It wasn't grit. It was recklessness. Yes, Geno Smith deserves criticism. 3 interceptions can't be ignored. But context matters. He was under siege all night. The interior offensive line was a disaster. Parham, Kappa, and Jordan Meredith combined for nearly 30 losing snaps. Geno rarely had a pocket to step into. On one perfectly designed shot, Trey Tucker broke free for what should have been a touchdown. But Parham was shoved straight into Geno before he could even set his feet. Later, Dante Thornton had a step on his defender, only for Geno to throw flat-footed, the ball underthrown, the play wasted. Fans blame the quarterback. The tape shows an offensive line that betrayed him. Jordan Meredith's struggles were especially brutal. High snaps. Low snaps. Botched protections. On a key 3rd and 1, he let a linebacker run free, blowing up Zamir White in the backfield for a loss. These weren't complicated assignments. They were basic football fundamentals, and the Raiders couldn't execute them. Meanwhile, Ashton Jeanty was the spark the offense desperately needed. 4 yards a carry, breaking tackles, igniting momentum. His 11-yard burst in the second half proved why he should have been the featured back. But just as he caught fire, Kelly pulled him. Inserted Zamir White. The result? Negative yardage, stalled drives, momentum gone. In a league built on rhythm, the Raiders sat their hottest hand, and then came the obsession with deep shots. The Chargers dropped 7 into coverage, daring the Raiders to run or take what was available underneath. But instead, Kelly dialed up throw after throw beyond 10 yards. Geno went 0 for 11 on those attempts. 0. That's not just poor execution. That's a refusal to adapt. Last year, defenses stacked the box against the Raiders. This year, they're doing the opposite. And still, this staff hasn't found an answer. There were bright spots, even in the wreckage. Colton Miller was a wall at left tackle, flawless in pass protection. Max Crosby was, as always, relentless, forcing a late fumble to give the team hope. Jonah Lalu burst onto the scene with 2 sacks. Jeremy Chin made crucial stops at the goal line. And Thomas Booker, though quiet on the stat sheet, disrupted plays up the middle and freed space for others. But the failures drowned out the positives. The secondary was torched. Isaiah Polamau gave up over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, constantly targeted in coverage. He's a box safety playing out of position, and the Chargers exploited him mercilessly. The busted coverage that led to a 60-yard touchdown for Quentin Johnston was inevitable. Until this team finds a true free safety, those breakdowns will keep happening. When it was over, the Raiders were left with more questions than answers. Yes, Geno Smith's mistakes cost them, but the real culprit was bigger. Outdated coaching. A line that couldn't block. Personnel choices that made no sense. A team that had every opportunity to seize control of its destiny, and instead sabotaged itself at every turn. And yet, the season isn't over. It's only week 2. There's time to fix this, but it has to start now. Pete Carroll must demand more from Chip Kelly. The game plan must change. Run the football. Use play action. Protect Geno with simpler schemes. And above all, feed Ashton Genty. Geno must respond, the line must grow up, and this staff must prove they can adapt. The Commanders are next, possibly without Jaden Daniels. It's a winnable game, but only if the Raiders stop beating themselves. Because in the NFL, excuses don't win games. Adjustments do.